HVAC guys are probably the easiest from the human perspective. The business side of HVAC is just difficult. It's a different business to manage. Plumbing just, if you're doing a good job, kind of hums along. We add electrical, very similar, kind of hums along. HVAC, man, if you're not prepared for HVAC, you're like. So our first year, we really wasn't doing too much marketing. Ironically enough, one of the PE companies came in and did a wonderful job destroying another company here.
Today's episode is powered by Sierra Systems.
Sierra is all about removing the clutter and unnecessary touch points to run your home service business profitably.
They use AI dispatching to get the right tech to the right call automatically and job time efficiency to ensure your entire team runs like a profit-generating machine.
Get a tech upgrade for your business at get.sierra.tech/service-business-mastery.
Mark your calendars right now, October 27th through the 30th.
Service World Expo is back in Vegas for its 10th anniversary, and we're going big.
The biggest expo hall in the industry, 2,000 contractors. We're talking live podcast recordings all week long with the industry's top contractors.
And when you get to Vegas, come find us at booth 2403.
We're dropping an AI automation keynotes that will change how you run your operations. Save $100 by using our code SPM100.
You and I are doing a keynote on AI and automation. Contractors absolutely need to hear this stuff. This isn't just another trade show.
It's where contracting businesses transform.
We're not just attending.
We're taking over the podcast stage.
Don't miss the 10th anniversary. We'll see you in Vegas.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching Service Business Mastery podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, and I'm sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we have the lovely Sammy on the call today. And we're going to talk a little bit about transition, growth, the pain points that come along with it, and how you can grow fast. And it's not for everybody, and it's okay. But we're going to talk about how Sammy's done it. And with that being said, welcome to the show, Sammy.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on. A pleasure to join the crew.
Absolutely.
Sammy's a fish that I've been trying to land on the podcast for a little while now. I had to kind of beg, borrow, and steal to get him on here, but I'm glad he's on here. I actually kind of made him feel bad because he was on Cristiano's podcast To The Point. We had talked and done some other stuff, and I'm like, Sammy, I think you owe me now. You need to come on the show.
Josh was pretty quick on that trigger. I think like half an hour after Chris's podcast came out, I got that message. I kindly obliged and told him I owed him anyway for his graciousness over the years, giving back to me and being there for me. I had some questions and concerns, and always just being somebody willing to help and not ask for anything in return. So,
well, we appreciate you coming on the show. For those who are not aware of you, your brand, and everything that you've been doing over the past, 4 years or so, can you share your history and how you got into the industry and all of that?
I give the brief version. I have a business background. I proudly say I've never been employed in my life, pretty much been my own boss since I was 17, 18 years old. I ran a wireless business and we grew that wireless business from 0 stores in, 1996, 97. We kind of got up to about 2015-ish where we got a little bit serious about growth, and there was a carrier named Boost Mobile at that time that, was nationwide. So we kind of hitched our wagons to there. Started off with about 15 stores around then, Ohio and Indiana, and then grew that to about 250 stores right before COVID, 2020, with about 750 employees. So did that my whole life, had a really good team, long time employees and, people that were with me for a really, really long time. COVID came, I wanted to try something different. Business started to slow, not to get into too much of that story, but a lot of that, they switched hands from going from Sprint to Dish Network, and a lot of things changed, and kindly tapped somebody on the shoulder over there. And, one of the guys that had been with me for a really long time and started as a, sales rep and kind of moved his way up. And then I tapped him on the shoulder after I opened Apex and had to move into a GM role. But prior to that, I was kind of looking at a couple different businesses, almost bought a landscape business. Thank God that didn't happen. Just settling on plumbing. A lot of people said that try to go out and buy something to get started. And quite honestly, really wanted to try to do something from the ground up so you could do it the right way and kind of implement your policies, procedures, your brand, your culture, and all of that stuff. So landed on plumbing and home services for all the obvious reasons. For me, I thought it was pandemic proof at that point, recession proof, technology proof, outsource proof, had the ability to grow one big thing that I realized in the wireless business, it was extremely hard with growth, even though we had phenomenal time growing and we're the largest prepaid dealer in the country. But it was a little bit difficult because everybody was in the same building. You couldn't grow that same culture that you can have with everybody being around you and able to, build it. So that was one of the other appealing things about Apex is that you could have everybody kind of in-house per se and get in front of everybody continuously and kind of build what you want to build. So, and then also the scalability of it, being able to add HVAC and electrical and maybe expand and do all types of other crazy things. So that was kind of how it originated. So went out and hired a licensed starter plumbing company. And unfortunately, he had a commercial background and had us putting in bids on Chick-fil-A's and Burger King's and a whole bunch of other stuff. And like, okay, so what's next, buddy? Oh, we just wait for somebody to accept our bid. I'm like, man, it's been a month. Nobody accepted anything. Now what? So anyway, quickly pitched that idea, got online, did a bunch of research. And I say, thank God we did a lot of things right from the beginning. I was dumb enough to call Nexstar from, day one before we even had a company and say, hey, we're ready to sign up and we want to become one of your contractors. And very lovely lady by the name of Lisa, she politely told me that wasn't happening. There were certain parameters and X, Y, Z. She did give me a couple good pieces of advice. And then she actually sent me like a welcome package for their members. And in hindsight, that welcome package did a lot for us. Dan Antonelli, his branding, he had like a brochure in there. So we quickly picked up and, started our branding the right way and kind of developed the Apex brand from there. We were on Upwork looking at some pretty cool brands, so some white trucks with some water flowing on the side of them, all types of other cool stuff. But so I ended up quickly going Dan Antonelli and then also picked up Service Type from day one. So started a lot of things the right way. I'm not a guy that really aspires, those out crazy goals, but I am a guy that understands if you put hard work, hustle, and, just energy, things to take care of themselves. So thought we would grow, not at the pace that we did. Quite honestly, I didn't even know $50 million companies existed, $100 million companies existed. If you'd have told me $10, $12 million, I would have said, man, that's a badass company. Hopefully we can get there one day. And I think we did that, probably about 12 months in.
So are you currently offering more than just plumbing?
So we started just plumbing. Pretty much, I count our start date as really March of 2021 when, we launched our plumbing service business. We got a couple guys to do plumbing service work and then had a couple branded trucks. So started with 3 trucks and a couple guys March of 2021. Ironically enough, we didn't have a website until June of 2021. And then we had, a lot of things fell in place. If you asked me to duplicate it again, I probably couldn't. As good as I think I am, I probably couldn't duplicate what we did. So probably 3 months in, a company shut down a block away and I had 2 excavation crews, a manager walk in the door and say, you guys want to start excavation? Scratched my head, looked around and said, yeah, sure. Let's do it. What do we need to do? So went out, bought some excavators, a truck. And so we added excavation pretty quickly on. Fast forward, that was 21, 22. We were just running plumbing and excavation at that point in drains. 23, we added HVAC. Fast forward to 24, we added electrical. And then fast forward to 25, our first real expansion. We moved out. We just had our ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago in Dayton, Ohio, which is about an hour and 15 minutes west of us. So we do have the trifecta and a little bit of growth. I do have bad ADHD, so I like to keep moving and grooving. So every year we've accomplished a little something. I don't know what 2026 holds for us yet, but we'll figure it out when we get there.
Now, where are you located?
Columbus, Ohio. So we service what we call Central Ohio. So pretty much all the Central Ohio, which is around Columbus, but population about 2.5 million people.
Adding trades, I know that's been, more of a trend the last few years, I think, as people have grown and they feel like they can kind of they can go horizontal, then vertical to grow. To be able to do that back-to-back years like that, what did that process look like, man? Because some people add a trade and it takes them years to figure out the inventory, the price book, how to sell those calls, how to leverage plumbing and HVAC together. So that way the plumbers are selling HVAC services and HVAC is selling plumbing, et cetera. So what did that look like to you?
We started a lot of things correctly, talking about service side, talking about the marketing. Also, when we got started, I had a buddy of mine, childhood friend, who actually helps me run the business. His name's Fatty. He's, more of a computer guy and loves the computer side, super intelligent human. So brought him over day one. He was helping me out on the wireless business, said, hey, there's going to be a lot of technology and stuff involved here. So inventory and stuff, you touch on that, like running 250 retail locations. I had to have inventory figured out pretty quickly. So I'd say 4 months in, 5 months into the business, we actually had service site inventory set up pretty much from day one, replenishments, warehouse, everything. So that was for, retailer, it was pretty easy for me to figure out. The trades, now that was a totally different story. You talking about getting into it. I thought I was opening a plumbing company. I didn't realize I was opening a call center. I didn't understand I was opening a logistics, a warehouse. I didn't think about fleet. I didn't think about dispatch. I mean, there was a whole lot of other things, uniform company. There was 10 other businesses that I didn't realize I was opening. So I think, it wasn't easy. A lot of hard work. Also, Ken Goodrich, he was like, well, make it wait till you're number one or, number two, top three in one of the trades before adding another one. I had Josh Kelly here and he was doing a site visit with us. And I'm like, we're going to add HVAC. And he's like, I'm like, we're going for this goal. And he said, oh, you're crazy. You're not going to hit that. And we did all right. So we added HVAC, didn't know anything about it. And ironically enough, we didn't even have an HVAC guy start the HVAC department. So I had, we started prematurely. So I had a guy who came in with a plumbing background, but he had some management background, a guy named Brad. He had another company, was GM for another company. And he walked in and he was looking for a gig. And I'm like, man, I don't really need anything on the plumbing side, but I do plan on doing HVAC sometime in the near future. You got some management experience. You want to figure it out together. So quickly jumped online and started figuring out what a single stage was, a two-stage, modulating and all the other good stuff. So we can speak intelligently to the vendors when they walked in the door and still didn't have a clue what we were talking about when they walked in. So, and then we ended up with a really solid guy who has been in the industry for 20 plus years. And the guy named Joe, he's, was with the same company for about 18 years. He came over. He's our license holder. I knew he had zero management experience, but he had a lot of sales experience, but just a passion for the business, and brought him over, and them two together and we kind of fumbled our way through it. And then, just figured it out together as a team. And lo and behold, we had an HVAC department. So
which trade has been the most difficult?
HVAC is a different monster. So,
is it a different monster because of all the equipment, or is it the people? Because what I've heard, so my wife worked at it. She was doing the sales it was a primarily electrical company for many, many, many years. And electricians and HVAC technicians, from what I've heard, are different personality types. And so there was a lot of issues with that because like the owner was an electrician by trade, has been an electrician. He's dealt with electricians. And then here come HVAC techs, and they're just a different animal. It's from what I understand.
You don't want to include plumbers into that different animal conversation because, plumbers are special animals. So, we started with plumbing, so we got to deal with a lot of the craziness to begin with. Guys talking about, I'm like, man, we just go in the back of the truck and we fight it out. That's how. I'm like, huh? It's like, yeah, that's how we do it. I'm like, but we're not doing that here. So, from a people perspective, there's nothing like plumbers. I love my plumbers, and ironically enough, I hired pretty much every one of them. I was our recruiter for the first 2 years, and I interviewed and hired our first 110 employees myself, recruited them, hired them. I moved from A to Z. So the plumbers have a special place in my heart, but they are a special breed of humans. But when we're talking about people, HVAC guys are probably the easiest from the human perspective. The business side of HVAC, it's a different business to manage. Plumbing just, if you're doing a good job, kind of hums along. We add electrical, very similar, kind of hums along. HVAC, man, if you're not prepared for the HVAC, you're like, so our first year, we just, I don't want to say monkeyed around with it. We didn't know what we didn't know. We really wasn't doing too much marketing. Ironically enough, one of the PE companies came in and did a wonderful job destroying another company here. So we were on the receiving end of a lot of their employees. So we did pretty good to get started, but we weren't really dependent on it. And then 24, which was our first like real year, we struggled pretty bad with it. We came into the shoulder season. We really didn't know what we were doing, standing around. it's a sick feeling when you walk in and see every install crew standing around playing at the pool table first thing in the morning, and then hanging out for the next 2-3 hours without any job. So it's a different business to understand. We figured it out. I thought we figured it out. We did figure it out this year through shoulder season, and then summer hit us, and then we looked at our board and we were way overbooked and fumbling a lot. So last year we figured shoulder season out this year, and then peak season we kind of fumbled our way through it just because how busy we were. And then so hopefully next year we can combine the two and do all right. So
yeah, the HVAC is a different beast because you don't know when the weather, because it's so weather dependent. Like plumbing, there are times when
listen, Josh, I try to lie to our guys and tell them we are weather enhanced. We're not weather dependent, but we all know that's a crock of shit. So
well, it's a good story. Hopefully they bought into it. But and that's the thing, and that's why it's so hard for these trades, because like plumbing and electrical typically are very there's not a whole, there maybe around the holidays and some of those things, back to school or when summer school's out and stuff, there might be a little dip or spike. But with HVAC, it's so, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like California has had like the coldest summer they've had in, I don't know, 20-30 years. Like they haven't had a day over 100 degrees, which for them is really rare out this way. We had in Arizona, we had the coolest July we've had in like 30 years or something like that. August has been hot, but July wasn't. So like that, contractors that depend on that because they're not doing anything proactively, it can really hurt their business, and they can be way behind the 8 ball. And then by the time they actually get to the point where demand season, a lot of these people have either been taken care of, marketed to by another company, or just don't need them. And then your whole year is messed up then.
Yeah, I think you hit on a key word with HVAC is proactiveness. And I think that is the difference between a successful company and a non-successful company. It's a level of proactiveness that you have. And I think proactiveness comes in twofold. For us, with plumbing, quite frankly, we never sold a membership. We didn't even have a membership program. I mean, we were new and we just had more business, and we understood what to do it, right? And we couldn't keep up. So, one of the first things that we discussed and figured out quickly with HVAC is you definitely do need membership, right? You need those club programs. You need to keep a fence around your customers. So that was one of the first things we did. The other thing was obviously just being super proactive from a call center. I don't think people understand the importance of that. I know people say it and you don't really think about it. I say I got my PhD in the trades from just listening to podcasts all day, every day when we were first getting started, reading books and scrolling every Facebook post that I can kind of figure something out. But you hear people talk about call center, but the reality is you don't really even think about it, right? And for me, probably the call center was the most forgotten, if you want to call it department, business unit, whatever you want to call it, until we started HVAC. And then, really I removed the leader I had in place and kind of took the mentorship of the call center and dispatch room over myself, after we started HVAC, just because it was so important. But man, it'll either make you or break you depending on how proactive or reactive you are. You sit down, you're a sitting duck, or you get in the shoulder season and you don't have, tune-ups, ready to go, and you got technicians sitting around, or, plumbing super busy, and then HVAC guys are sitting. Like there's a ton of things that you could do proactively where I think everybody, I think I speak for myself. I know we missed the buck on that. And I think a lot of people overlook the call center. And that's probably the worst department in a company to overlook.
Why would you say the call center is so different in the HVAC world versus any of the other ones?
Because I think the call center in plumbing, you're booking calls, right? I mean, I don't think you don't have that seasonality piece. With HVAC, you have to be proactive, right? I mean, there's two things, you got to figure out if plumbing and electrical are busy, can you, double book some of those calls, right? How do you take advantage of that customer base that's already calling you for, business when you have people sitting down and you have technicians sitting? So how do you double book the calls, right? Josh Kelly's got something, called, oh, by the ways. And, when you're calling somebody, then, somebody's calling in for you. How are you, getting that? But again, you have to teach your CSRs that. You have to incentivize your CSRs to make sure that they're hitting that as well, and making sure that there's consistency in that, right? And I think that's a lever that you can pull as needed. The other piece is you need to outbound, right? Like in my experience, we didn't really have to focus too much on outbound with plumbing. boy, you need to do some serious outbound with HVAC, for memberships, for we call it our Care Bear Club, trying to get those staffed up, stocked up for the shoulder season proactively a month in advance, a month and a half in advance, 2 months in advance, and just trying to get that done, just to keep your tune-ups, keep guys busy and moving. But ultimately, there's a third piece of it too, is all of the new system that we installed. I know, guys see me at Pantheon. I think it was Jamie Diamonico. He was like, wait till the dog's tail catches up to you. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that means. And sure enough, you come out of a busy summer or busy winter with HVAC, and as soon as they flip those systems on, you got a shit ton of warranty calls. So again, using your call center to be proactive, to get in front of those before the peak season hits, so you're not trying to run warranty calls at the same time as you're running demand calls. So it's, again, a lot going on in there, and then obviously the different lead flows and what you're trying to do as far as touching that customer base and cultivating that customer base.
Sammy, I got a couple of questions for you. So I want to go back. You mentioned that you hired the first 110 people that you brought into the company and recruited them and everything else. I know there's probably some people listening to this that are like, how in the world does he have time to do that? I have 10 guys and I can't even find time to hire another one. What is different in, at least what do you believe is different in your mind, why it was so important for you to hire that first batch of people to bring in and bring in high level culture people that can help you grow your business?
I guess twofold. One, I feel like I wanted to be the one making those decisions as far as who's joining our team from a cultural perspective, right? I wanted to make sure that was somebody that I thought would fit in, that can grow with us, that fit the mold of what we were looking for. And two, I think you sit me in front of somebody, I can sell the vision better than anybody else. And, at that point in time, I was able to sell the vision better than anybody in the company, right? So that was my chance to, I like to sell. I'm a competitor at heart. That was my chance of really, competing out there, right? And I was able to go in and you sit a plumber in front of me that was interviewing with somebody's HR department, and you sit him in front of me. I probably wasn't going to lose that battle that much, right? So I was out there, selling, hustling, doing a tour of the shop, and that was my little bit of excitement and fun and hustling the company, is just recruiting and onboarding those guys and getting them in. But I think ultimately for, an owner or any organization, I got a buddy of mine who was pretty large out of PA, and I told him the same thing. He was, he's been in business for some time, and I'm like, dude, hire a recruiter. At that point, he's not outgoing. He don't like interacting with people. I do, on the other hand. So I guess for that owner, whoever that person is, when I hired my recruiter, I'm like, recruiting is a sales position. It's not an HR position. It is a sales position. So I think, obviously I thought I was good enough to sell them right on the vision and where I wanted to go, like where Sammy wanted to take Apex, opposed to putting them in front of somebody else. And also I wanted to be careful what culture, especially that I don't want to say that few first, because it was 100, right? So, that first batch of humans, how we wanted to bring them in. And also, then it was good to build a relationship and kind of understand what we had in the company and, who we had here, and them understand who they were coming to work for as well. They weren't coming to just work for a service manager, right? They were coming to work for the owner of the company. And I'm heavily involved in the business in the day-to-day. I think recruiting, people talk about, it was COVID when we got started, right? Coming right out of COVID. I wish we would have seen the COVID burst with HVAC, but we're coming right out of COVID. So the first thing everybody used to ask me is, how'd you get so many vans? Where are you getting all your vans? And I'm like, from the car dealer. I'm like, what's the problems? Did a deal with a car dealer, and we had. Then the next question was always, how did you recruit so many employees, and where'd you find people? We can't find anybody. And I'm like, well, you're probably not doing a good job of trying to find out, right? I mean, and then when you get somebody, how good are you at closing the deal and making sure that you can get them on board? So I think those two pieces. Quite frankly, the third piece was selfish for me, is I really learned a lot about every other company in this market, from a plumbing perspective, from an HVAC perspective. As far as when I was interviewing guys, I was really grilling them. How'd your old company pay? What did you guys do? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What was the culture over there? How was it? So I learned a lot about the business. But what I was able to do too is when I had the next guy come in from ABC Plumbing, well, I already knew what they did good and I already knew what they did bad. So I knew how I can sell against that. Or was it a company that had culture issues? Well, I could just hit on culture, overcoming objections or, I trying to overcome them before they even arise. So, and trying to close the deal. So we did that. Or if it was a company that didn't pay or they were hourly and we were performance pay, I'm like, man, what did you sell? You did this in hourly. Well, you could have made double over here if you perform that same amount of revenue here. So just trying to figure out business as well. So that was a good, I guess, learning curve for me.
Do you think it's benefited you from being outside the trades, coming in and having like an open mind about everything versus having, working for someone for 5 or 10 years, coming in with those preconceived notions, I guess? Do you think that's helped you grow faster?
Tremendously, to be honest with you. I don't have any preconceived notions. I came in there's a whiteboard that you see a corner of behind me, and it's I don't know 3-4 times that size. And I haven't sat in my office since I opened Apex. I do have a lovely office in here, but if you ask 90% of our employees where Sammy's office, they'd walk you into this conference room. I got me and Fatty that sit across from each other for the last 4+ years. And we're just trying to figure out what makes sense. So I say, Apex is a conglomerate of a whole bunch of good ideas from everywhere else, right? So, obviously we put our fine tuning and fine touch on things, but I say we let plumbers plumb, we let HVAC guys do HVAC, we let electricians do electric, and I focus on trying to run a business, right? Guy comes in or a guy has a great idea. I don't have to tell you, buddy, that don't work. We've been doing this for 25 years and this is what works. I know works. Man, that sounds like a good idea. Actually, let's polish it up a little bit. And guess what? That's part of Apex's policy right now. So, that's kind of how we've done it. So being able to decipher a whole bunch, and don't get me wrong, some of the ideas, that people kick around aren't the best ideas, but there are a lot of good ideas, right? And, you can find something out from a small company that maybe has 2 or 3 techs that are doing something really good. So yes, 100%. But I think as a leader, you have to, whether you're from the trades or not, I think, as a leader, you have to have the skill set of listening, right? And I think you have to be willing to change, right? You have to be willing to adapt. And if you can't adapt and you can't change, you're probably not going to go anywhere, right? So whether you're from the trades or, yes, I say having a business background outside of trades, I wouldn't trade that for anything, right? But I do think if you're a good tradesman, and you could just get out of your own way and listen to others. Who cares what you did, right? Just listen to others. And who cares how everybody else did it, right? There's, best practice groups that teach some of the best. I don't necessarily agree with every single thing they say, right? But there are some good ideas that they have. There's a lot of outdated ideas that they have as well. So it's like, maybe you take this and you kind of move it here, right? So I think as a leader, you just need to be willing to listen, learn, and adapt. And, these podcasts are, a great place to do that. Obviously, reading's a great place to do that. But sometimes just listening to your team and understanding that sometimes they have good ideas too. And it's just because they're a plumber or just because they're an electrician or a warehouse guy or a manager that you don't have to listen to. I think that's where some of your better ideas come from.
You have so many team members. When you were hiring them, because I ran into this a while back where I was hiring the individuals, but I didn't interact with them every day. And so do you ever have a situation where you're presenting the company one way, and then they go and experience the company and they're like, oh yeah, but it's not really going to be like that because you're the owner, you're going to sell your grand vision. But when we actually get into the day-to-day operations, I'm going to actually deal with some nonsense, or that's their perception anyways, or whatever.
I try to address that. So for every onboarding that we have, I jump in the room and I kind of go over, obviously these days I don't get in every interview, but I do still find interviews fun and I try to jump in as many as I can when I can. The guys do a good job of hiding most guys from me, but they will get mature and then I'll see them. But I try to set that stage and kind of explain what the culture that I want them to have. And I put the onus, the same thing, I stopped saying I half-heartedly joke about it because I'm dead serious about it. We have 2 management policies, right? A no stick up your ass policy is the first one. I tell my managers, I want you smiling. I want you happy. I want your attitude and your energy being infectious, right? And I want you to be happy-go-lucky guy. And I want you to lead that way as well. Lead as a friend and as a leader instead of a boss and, so for lack of a better word, people want to work for. So that's one. And then the other one is an open door policy, right? And I want my managers to have an open door policy. And not just the managers, everybody in this company should have an open door policy. So everybody in this company knows where I sit. They can walk up here whenever they want, however they want. And if that's my policy, then that better be everybody in the company's policy. So I make sure I set those standards in the beginning and people understand that. And we talk to the managers and we make sure that everybody feels that way. And if somebody doesn't feel that way, they should be able to voice their concerns or why they don't feel that way. And we should be able to do something to change that, right? And if it's a coaching moment that a manager needs to have, or if it's a coaching moment that a technician or employee needs to have, then we should be having that. We got early on, managers, unfortunately, and I won't say our managers, but I just think naturally a human thinks when they get a management role or a power position, it means that you have a license to become an asshole, right?
Yeah.
We try to coach our guys the exact opposite of that, right? Becoming a leader, becoming a manager means the opposite of that, right? Now you need to be a therapist. You need to be, you need to be a dad. You need to be a mom. You need to be a marriage counselor, right? You need to be a coach. You need to be a mentor. You don't need to be an asshole, right? That's like, I have a policy, even if somebody is a complete jerk, let them go out the door and they should never be able to turn around and blame Apex for anything, right? We should be able to let them go out the door, even if they're acting a fool, let them go out the door happily and not be able to blame us for anything. We don't need to stoop down to any different levels or change their management style.
How would you do that though, if they're creating turmoil in the business? And I'm not saying this has even happened to you because, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But
you have cancers. I think.
There's people who are really good at the interview process. Josh and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, there's people who are real, like their job is to do a killer interview. And then when they get into the actual role, they suck.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of that. But it's one thing you as the owner have a culture, right? It's another thing that you could make sure that your managers have that same understanding. Belief. The third thing is making sure the technicians have it, right? And I think if you can rally enough technicians around that mindset, right, and you can have them believe in it and have them feel it. It don't happen by accident, right? The managers have to be involved. We do outings. We just had a summer event where we brought family, kids, wives, everything out. We did all that. We do a hockey event where we got 250 tickets at the Columbus Blue Jackets Arena where we take, family, technician plus one. We do another award ceremony at the end of the year. We try to do things at the end of a quarter. We do breakfasts anytime we hit a nice milestone, right? We have a barber that comes in, 2 times a week and cuts people's hair. We got pool table. We got air hockey. We got a gym in the building, right? So there's a lot of stuff that getting people to really enjoy working here. I don't allow managers to yell at people, right? I don't yell at people. I don't treat people like shit. I don't allow them to do that. And I don't allow them to do that to our technicians. So I think after you cultivate that and there's not one mission statement written, not that I'm saying it's a great thing. There's not one mission statement written on our walls in this building. There's no core values written on our walls, and there's nothing that people are memorizing. I feel that, your culture is what's walking around your building, right? And what's in your company. So I think if you can cultivate that properly at this point, I say you will either fit in or quickly fit out of Apex. So those cancerous people or those people with bad attitudes and they're nasty, usually the technicians in dispatch and the call center and accounting or warehouse, they're all already chirping about that person, how he's not a good cultural fit here. And then it usually takes care of itself pretty quickly.
Hello, home service professionals. Do you want to maximize your marketing budget? Then you need to be using call tracking from CallRail. Let's say you noticed a spike in new leads this month. To find out what's driving them, you just log into your CallRail dashboard. Is my new Facebook ad outperforming my other ads? Or is paid search knocking it out of the park? Or maybe it's time to retire those newspaper ads. Since CallRail assigns a unique phone number to each of my marketing efforts, I know where my best leads come from and which efforts to scrap. CallRail shows you your most cost-effective marketing channels so you can get back to business. Go to callrail.com/SBMpod and try it for free.
Today's episode is brought to you by one of our show partners, UpFrog.
UpFrog is the OG when it comes to pricing transparency online. They find system replacement leads through paid ads and have developed an entire system to drive those hard-to-find system replacement opportunities, nurture the leads, and book them into sold systems before your team arrives to help you grow your business.
Learn more at upfrog.io. I want to give a huge shout out to Marcus Storm for sponsoring today's episode.
You've heard of Google Ads, Facebook ads, and SEO, but did you know that there's an entire ecosystem, like 80% of the internet, that ads can be served on that you barely heard about?
That's where Marcus Storm operates.
They leverage data science and AI to build customer profiles for your ideal customers and get your ads in front of prospects before they are ready to hire a pro, planting your brand in their minds early and often.
To chat with a team about how they can help you grow your business, visit marcusstorm.ai.
If you're a contractor with multiple CSRs, check out this Service Business Mastery podcast partner, Lace.ai. Lace uses cutting-edge AI to analyze your phone calls, uncover lost revenue opportunities, and empower your CSRs to convert more leads. You can significantly increase revenue without spending extra on marketing or hiring by using Lace.ai to boost your conversion rates. For the first time, you can gain deep insights into customer needs at scale with minimal effort. Elevate your call center to achieve industry-leading booking rates and revenue. Visit www.lace.ai to book a demo today. Now back to the show. Yo, Joshua, really fast, I want to talk about online scheduling for the trades and how they should be affordable, effective, and easy to manage. A really quick second here to share a little bit about the latest group of experts that we've teamed up with, Autobot.ai. Our team of industry experts has developed best-in-class scheduling app that seamlessly integrates with your CRM. Every booked job goes directly into your software and becomes one of our advanced marketing analytics, which is really cool. We can automatically select the marketing campaign of your choice based on how the customer came to your site.
Yeah, Tersh, those industry leading analytics tells you everything that you're going to want to know about your lead, where they came from, what they did before scheduling, and what page they converted on, other things. On average, about 75% of people who start a booking with our app complete it, but we'll give you a more granular reporting that shows conversion rates based on marketing source and medium to help improve your marketing efforts.
So honestly, with no contracts, affordable monthly rates, and you really don't have anything to lose. And so it's a great program to try out. And if you use SBM, when you go to sign up for it, you'll actually save $1,500 on the setup fees. Honestly, give it a shot. Tell us what you think.
Tersh and I were talking about that because I had a really great interview, really great on calls the first couple months for a new service we were offering. And then, just like over time, you just realize that I don't know what happened. Like they either stopped taking their meds or something happened and they just fell off the wagon. And I don't mean to joke about that, but it was really bizarre. But it is difficult, like no matter what your experience is. Like you've obviously hired a lot of people, a lot more people than I've ever hired in my life, but you still get it wrong sometimes because the person that comes in the door the first time is not necessarily the person you get when you're actually doing the work and they're working well with others, or they bring baggage from outside of work into the office and start taking it out on everyone close to them at work. They don't know how to turn that off. Do you guys, so you said the culture kind of takes care of itself. Is there some sort of reporting structure you guys have for that as far as, like when somebody's out of line or somebody does something and it's open door to report it?
It's open door to report it. We've done something since we first started to, there's two things that we did from the day we opened our business and that we do till today. I'm having some struggles with trying to keep them up from a logistics perspective, but every Tuesday we hold a full field meeting, full staff meeting, and it's in the shop. So we have every technician come in, and so it's nice because they get to intermingle with each other, cross departments. I actually host a meeting, go over the numbers, we go over any, challenges and things like that. We read some reviews, we give some shout outs, we go over, we do raffles when we have, hit a new review milestone and things like that. We do anniversary cards. So there's a lot of intermingling with them so they understand who everybody is. The other thing is, And then we hold a managers meeting as well. And that's literally every manager in the company is together on every Tuesday. So a lot of those things will come up and, they'll come up in conversations. They'll come up within the managers meeting. And the managers meeting is really just like an open session. There's a little bit structure to it, but then after that, it's just kind of an open structure where everybody kind of talks about something. And then if there is something, one manager might discuss, hey, I seen this with this person or so on and so forth. And that stuff might arise in there. And usually the managers are pretty much in tune with their guys. And if there's a complaint from dispatch, they're probably sitting down and talking to that technician. And, I think you just need to have a accountability policy in place, and accountability doesn't need to be, a stick, right? Accountability needs to be a conversation and just having a conversation about what's good, what's acceptable, and what's not. And I think some people, again, when you get into management, it's, we got to put them on this performance improvement plan. We have to have this verbal write-up. Then we have to have this sit down. It's like, dude, treat them like a human, right? Somebody might just be having, a bad week, right? They might have just gotten in a fight with their wife today. Like, if they're having a couple bad days, let's have a conversation about it and see what it is. They're having a couple bad weeks, then maybe that's a different conversation, and maybe it needs to be a little bit more formal. And if this is a repeated habit, then they probably don't belong here, right? Or they need some time off. So I think if you just have, kind of a policy of accountability, then you'll be okay. When you don't have accountability, you just let cancer, we first early on, those two guys that sat in the back of the room. And then, after the meeting was over, there was 10 people huddling around them and it was mad faces and it was a bunch of shit talking. And it went out to the parking lot and it's like this and that. And then you keep hearing the same person's name. That's like when you start feeling and seeing that, it's probably, there's one thing I have zero tolerance for: performance. Let's have a conversation about it. You had a bad day. Let's have a conversation about it. You had a couple of attendants that, let's have a conversation about it. When you have a clear cancerous culture problem, it's somebody going around trying to infect other people. I think that's where you just have to have, draw a red line.
So we got a couple questions in the chat, but I want to ask you based on that. So like sometimes you'll have somebody who is really good at hiding the fact that they're cancer. Like they're always, when you talk to them, they're like team Apex, like let's go. And then as soon as they're off one-on-one with another technician, then they're talking crap. Like, have you run into that? And not necessarily just in with Apex, like with your other business as well, because of having people remote.
I think you always have that, right? I mean, humans sometimes could just be negative, right? And I think I think a lot of humans thrive off of negativity and they thrive off of drama, right? And it's like it's their medicine, right? I see you sipping on your rehydration drink and somebody else might be sipping on their energy drink, right? They need to sip on their dose of drama, right? But I think if you could get ahead of that and just let them know it's not acceptable behavior and have a conversation, but also if you don't have other people willing to accept and indulge in that, I think that helps you. But again, if you do have that and it's low key, then it's probably worse off than it being outright, because that person's going to go unfiltered and try to infect a whole bunch of people. But again, I think where you have somebody cancerous that is trying to infect other people, you need to get rid of. And there should, I have a open, I don't want to say open return policy. Like somebody leaves or they'll leave with terms. Most of the time, I'll allow them to come back. We jokingly, we have a policy that every new employee on Tuesday, they have to get up and introduce themselves, right? And, it's a running joke because we do that to the guys that leave and come back as well. It's always laughs and giggles. But last week we had a guy leave, and then that was like on Tuesday, Wednesday of the previous week. And then next Tuesday, he was in the meeting and everybody's looking at him. They're like, hey, he needs to get up. He needs to get up. So we made him get up and somebody's like, that grass must not have been greener on the other side. I said, well, I think it was a manure on the other side. It didn't look like it was grass. So anyway, I think if somebody, you can allow them with certain parameters, but I think somebody cancerous but that is also trying to infect others is just like a no-go, right? You know,
Gotta be
it's got an
cut the
attitude.
ties
And
completely.
somebody's got an attitude and their manager can deal with them, and he's a little bit of headache for the manager. You know, when dealing with 200-300 humans, you're going to have that. But when they're trying to infect others negatively continuously, I think you just have to have a red line and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So really quick, Elise asked a question here. Josh, you want to read that out for me?
I can't, like this screen,
How did you navigate those changes and bring everyone along internally through those changes with adding a new division? I think for a new division, one thing I believe, and we didn't talk much about it, and I was chit-chatting with somebody yesterday via Messenger, is I think you have to have a good operations plan, right? And I'm not saying you have to have some elaborate business plan. Quite honestly, and I'm not saying you even have to have a 50-page operations book, right? But I think every department should have kind of a basic set of understanding of how that department's going to run and what the expectations are of that department, right? Whether it's KPIs, whether it's a standard operating procedures for your dispatch or your call center. So I think as you continue to add stuff, you need to continue to evolve, right? And I like to say, especially for like dispatch, you know, coordinating room, you know, call center, those documents just need to be living, you know, adjustable documents, right? So you get in, you know, you add HVAC, well, you need to bring your call center along to make sure that they understand HVAC is different. And now we need to be focused on age of equipment, and 10 plus is a non-negotiable to be asking the age of equipment, where, you know, maybe plumbing you can get by, you know, not asking the age of a water heater, right? But I think you need to adjust, and I think you need to, you know, implement. And I also, as far as implementation, you need to go ahead and you need to inspect what you expect on a continuous basis. It's not set and forget it. If you set and forget this business, you'll be out of business, right? There's nothing, you know, I'll listen to some of the bigger guys, and I was listening to, you know, podcasts from Gus from Milestone, and you listen to all these guys. You look, oh, they're at 100 million or 150. They don't have any problems. You know, sometimes I sit in my managers meetings or sales meetings, and I'm like, man, everybody, all you guys do is bitch and apexes. I'm like, motherfucker, like, you know, sometimes it starts wearing on you, and you're like, damn,
oh yeah,
helping. Like, we got that many problems, and then you hear everybody else, or you go. Sometimes I like to go do a shop visit, and I say, man, that was some pretty good affirmation, right? Confirmation that what we're doing, you know. So now I tell people, I used to listen, far from perfect, but we're better than most. Like that.
Yeah.
This definitely isn't a shit show, but again, we need to continue to evolve. So I'd say for that questioner, have some policies and procedures in place, and then continuously update what those policies and procedures are. And they need to vary from department to department. And for the departments that touch everything, they need to vary as well as you continue to add departments.
Thank you to Company Cam for supporting today's episode.
These guys are changing the game for contractors with their smart photo app.
Keep your projects documented and streamline your team's communication with even your most complicated jobs.
Try it for free for 14 days and get 25% off of your first 2 months at companycam.com/SBM. That's good points. Stephen Bates asks, did you wrap your trucks from day one?
I don't know what else you would do, but yeah, we wrapped our trucks from day one. Ironically enough, we had 5, 6, 7 trucks, and then we had highway front. The building that we were in previously. My previous businesses were in there, but we had highway frontage, so we put a sign. And the amount of people that said, "Man, I see your trucks everywhere," and I'm like, "Do you?" We got like 7, 8.
Yeah,
it's crazy what happens when you like. We had the same thing, and we're in a little town. We had like 4 or 5 trucks on the road, but they were wrapped, and like nobody else had wrapped trucks in our area, and the colors look great and everything. I hear the same thing on the phone all the time when people call it. Oh my god, you guys are growing like crazy. I see you guys everywhere. Like, well, not really, but thank you.
I just wish we would have made Dan Antonelli like sign some type of non-compete, you know, agreement when we did our brand, because, you know, after that, and like 5, 6, 7 people rebranded. Now we got a whole bunch of nice, pretty trucks around the city. But
that's flattery, right? Like that's flattery because they're chasing what you're doing.
So Matthew Tyner, really fast, Josh, this is the last one I got here. Matthew Tyner said, tell Sammy, hey, is a good dude. And then he also said that just drove by one of your trucks in Columbus this morning.
Matthew Tyner is he's a beast. He's somebody that also begged for advice, and as they say, slide into his text messages and his DMs and ask questions. And I would just, if I could give advice, everybody asks questions, but I think, I tell my kids and I tell my employees, there's two people in the world who will never learn anything, right? One who's too arrogant to ask, the other one who's too shy to ask. And don't be either of the two. But along with that, if you're going to take somebody's time up, Matt, has been somebody great. I just, we chit chat back and forth. Obviously, Josh, I do. And probably a lot of people in the industry will say the same thing. I ask questions, and I don't have a problem asking. But I'll say, if you're going to take the time to ask somebody a question, don't waste their time, right? Like, ask a question and go implement it, right? There's a sign.
That is the biggest.
There's a sign right behind me.
A pet peeve of mine.
There's a sign that sits right behind me. There's a couple quotes in my office, but it's an idea is nothing without its execution, right? Like, don't go ask for something, somebody give you something and do zero with it, right? When I first started, I was going to these conferences and I'm like, man, like, dude, I've seen you at the other conference. Oh, are you going to this one? I'm like, no, like, I just got into business. I've been at 3, 4. No, I'm not going to go to every conference there is. And I probably won't be back to D Street ever again in my life. It's like, but like, why do you keep coming to them? Like, there's nothing up on that stage. And I get for the network, some of them, right? But it's like, there's nothing up on that stage that you haven't heard. And the fact that you're still stuck at 2 million or you're at 1 million and you're still going to these same conferences, like, why don't you spend your money, time, and effort working and busting your ass in your office, implementing 2, 3, 4, 5 of these ideas and actually seeing them through, and then you'll see your company grow. Nobody, my new thing is, somebody asked me, how do you grow? Hard work, hustle. There's no magic pill, buddy. Like, because I know that's what I was looking for when I first got started. Man, what are they doing? I mean, they know the secret, and they got it. Like, I'm trying to figure out what that secret was, but
the secret was years of hard work.
Yeah, the secret is years of hard work and hustle, and marketing and growth don't happen by accident. For everybody that wants to know how you grow so fast, because that's always the question, you market and you build a very good team and you run those leads and you convert those leads. If you're spending 2%, if you're spending 3%, then you're not serious about growth.
I wanted to add, that was going to be one of my questions, because obviously to get from, to 50 million in 4.5 years, like, you got to be spending some money. Like, there's no, and I know you guys have a partnership with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the National League hockey team.
Come on, the National Hockey Team.
Yeah, national. Sorry, I'm not a big hockey guy, so
I got season. Part of our sponsorship deals, I get season tickets, and I just give them up. So I'm not a hockey guy either.
Okay, but what does that look like for you? Because a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff out there, and obviously being in digital marketing, it's like, we always talk about spending, because people are always asking us the question, like, well, how much I should be spending, especially if I want to go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 5 or 5 to 10, how much should I be spending? What's your answer to that question? Because obviously, I mean, to go from where to 50, like, that's a whole different ball game.
My answer to that question is, do not ever ask somebody when you're trying to grow what percentage of marketing you should be spending, right? It's, if somebody doesn't ask you 20 other questions and gives you a percentage, then don't listen to them, right? Like, what are your goals? Where are you at in life? What is your financial situation? What's your risk tolerance, right? There's a lot of other questions that need to come along before somebody should spit out a percentage, right? And those percentages don't work unilaterally. The company that I've been in business for 40 years is different than the company that I've been in business for 4 months, right? The company that's got 15,000 club members is different than a company that has 0 club members. There's too much to answer that. So I would say that depends on where you are financially and what your risk tolerance is. Me personally, I like growth. I wasn't focused on profitability. And quite honestly, I didn't care about profitability, right? That wasn't for me. And I know most people will cringe and every coach will tell you you're crazy. But I didn't care about that, right? Like, that wasn't what drove me. And I wanted to grow. There is trade-offs, right? Like, you look at PEs. I talked to, one of the PE CEOs, and he's like, we go into a new market and we spend 25% to grow that market over 2 years or 3 years, because they're trying to build an enterprise value, right? You want to say, oh, you need to be profitable. You should only spend 5 to 7%. Well, 5-7% on a $2 million company is getting nowhere, right? And I think depending on the size of company you are and your risk tolerance, I wouldn't give a damn if you spent 25%, if you spent 20%, 15%. Shit, you go in the new market or you're new and you got the money, go spend 50%. Like if you're doing it intelligently, right? And I think that's
Not just throwing it.
Yeah, don't just throw it. Like have a real marketing plan, hire marketing professionals, right? You're a plumber or you're an HVAC or electrician. Don't go try to become a marketing professional. Like focus on that's where you need to be focused on your trade. Like there should be some oversight, but go hire, a legitimate company that understands marketing, maybe one for mass media, or maybe one for digital, or maybe one for however you're going to do it. But have a plan in place, have somebody advise you on that plan. There's a ton of fractional CMOs out here. Like go hire somebody if you really want to spend all of that money and figure out how you're going to do it, right? But don't go spend 2 to 5% on $1 million and tell me you're serious about growth, right? And I know everybody can't do it. And I know everybody don't need to do it, right? A $5 million company is a beautiful company. And if you're focused on your bottom line, and if you're owner operator and you're comfortable and you have your own peace of mind and you don't want to be happy with that, right? Don't get lost in looking at the guys online with their nice cars and their jets and their this and their that, right?
The social comparison age is where we're at.
Yeah. You don't need to do that, right? Like a $5 million a year business and you're pulling in 15-20%. That's
good.
Like great life. And believe me, you probably can't spend that $1 million a year, $1 million to live off of in a year anyway. So like, if that's what your growth isn't for everybody, and let me be frank, growth is not easy and everybody cannot do it. I don't give a damn how hard you try to do it. It's just not that easy to accomplish. So
how would you know if that's you though? Like, I think everyone, they want it to be them, but then they just don't realize they don't have the skills and they don't have like some of the background stuff because they're just trying to figure it out and they just never get very far.
It don't happen overnight, right? Like let's look at some of the legends. Like I don't want to call out any of the names, but it took them 20, 30 years to build a $50 million company or a $100 million company. But guess what? You look at a Jimmy Hiller that started as a plumber, or Dave Geiger that started as a plumber, or Ken or Leland. Like those guys started in the trade, but guess what? Success didn't happen for them overnight. They built over time and they became that person, right? So it's like, you might not be that had I been in my 20s right now and not had, 20 plus years of business experience, I couldn't have done what I did today, right? Like I had the know-how of building a big business, right? So it isn't for everybody and it don't happen by accident. But I would say, figure out if that's you. Everybody doesn't have that tolerance, that risk tolerance, and that stress tolerance. That's a shit ton of stress dealing with all that financially, mentally, the human side of it, the policies side, the different departments. So figure out what you want to do. And then if it's not you, be patient. It's okay being a little bit patient and growing over time, right? Everybody doesn't have to see, explosive growth and this and that. That's why I don't like getting on here talking about 0 to 50 million 4 years, because it's deceitful in the first, how much money did you have? And is it PE? Well, it's none of that, but it is a lot of years of experience in growing another big business and understanding all of that. But again, I have kids in their 20s and I'm like, are you sure you want? And they're like, Dad, sometimes we see you, stressed and work. And it's like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, well, you don't have to do that. Right. And it's like, everybody's not cut to be that person. And if you are a tradesman that could build a $3, $4, $5 million business and make $1 million a year or $500,000 a year or $250,000 a year and have a good living for yourself, then so be it. Like you don't have to be that next guy, right?
100%. There's some gold in this episode.
If you do need to market your ass off, you need to be super engaged in your business. You need to hustle. You need to work hard, and you need to have a phenomenal team around you to make it work. I could go through and name everybody in this business, right? I tell them all the time, without them, Apex wouldn't be possible, right? I'm only one man. Yes, it's my vision, but they're the ones that are implementing it on a daily basis. They're the ones that are coming in here, starting at 7 o'clock, leaving at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. They're the ones that are busting their ass, right? So, and you don't have to do it with a whole bunch of C-level people. Almost every one of our managers, for the most part, a great handful, large percentage of them, we promoted from within, from the trades and from the front line. So, but again, that's with me having the ability to mentor them. If If I didn't have the business acumen, then I probably wouldn't advise somebody to do that, right? Like you probably want to bring in some guys that can actually help them get there with the experience.
Another question I want to ask you, because one, you talked about shop tours, podcasts, reading books. How do you structure your day or week to make sure you have time for those things, especially early on in your career when you needed, or early on in your trades career, to make sure you had time for those things? Because I find that, at least I think, that a lot of people, they don't have time to do those things, right? And they don't, what the truth is, they don't make the time. But how have you made the time to make sure you're doing shop tours and you're going to see these bigger operations and learning everything that you need to know to be a successful visionary?
I think you have to prioritize, right? It's like going back to the hiring thing. Where are things on your priority level, right? If you're fine where you're at, then don't prioritize those things. But for me, I wanted to learn and consider myself a student of the game, right? So I tried to figure out what shops made the most sense and kind of organize my time around that. Again, I didn't go visit 100 shops. I didn't go visit 50 shops. Probably visited 5 to 10 shops, but was pretty strategic in where I wanted to visit and what I wanted to see, right? And kind of that path of, I didn't want to go see a shop that was the same size as me or a shop that was smaller than me. I wanted to see a shop that where I wanted to go, right? So I think, prioritizing those, if your claim is you don't have time to learn, I mean, you're probably not serious about being elite. Time to learn is a relative, podcast. How much time do we spend in our cars, right?
Oh yeah, listening to the music or scrolling TikTok.
You can listen to music or you can pop on a podcast, right? I don't listen to music. I pop on a podcast. My daughter, she played soccer, and on a travel team. So guess what? I was on podcasts. I was listening to, different podcasts going through. I was just listening to your guys' automation podcast last week so my point is do that, right? Continuously learn, be thirsty for knowledge, right? Everybody's on social media. Everybody's watching TV. Prioritize your time. I'm not even saying do it within your 8 hours of work every day. If you're that serious about being an entrepreneur and you're that serious about growing, I say I go to work, and the way I learned is I started my second shift when I got home, right? Hung out with the family, took care, ate dinner, did all of that. Nighttime comes, quiet time comes.
Well, that's a good point that you make there. I want to ask you this. Do you have any hobbies? I was a car guy for years and years and years. I have a full sleeve of car parts.
Preaching my language. I love cars too. So yes, I like cars and I like fast cars. So
same.
So yes, I like cars. I do have 6 kids at home, in the older ages. My youngest is 17. I have 4 nieces and nephews that live next door to me that I bought the house and they live in as well. So I consider work as a hobby for me, right? I enjoy. A lot of people don't enjoy coming to work. I enjoy work for me is a hobby. On the weekends, when I'm bored, I'm like, shit, man, I need to get up and get out the house. That's just who I am, right? I like spending time with the family. I'm a sports guy. I like going. I'm a season ticket holder for the Browns. Love the cute.
You poor fella, you.
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah,
man, you guys literally trying to hire every damn quarterback that's available.
Yeah, it's okay. You figure out, man. You get lucky one day. But hey,
maybe they need to hire you as the GM, Sammy.
Obviously, for me, family's important. I like spending time with the family. I went over to Morocco. We're going to Miami for a couple of days. We're actually leaving tomorrow, going to Miami for the weekend and just hanging out with my nieces down there. She's getting into medical school. So just, hanging out with the family, doing some sports, enjoying my cars and, enjoying work. So
I feel like the guys and gals that are the most successful are willing to put their hobbies aside for, even if it's a short period of time during that growth stage. Would you agree with that?
You have to. Your business is not going to grow without you being involved. And I know everybody, you hear this visionary and you hear this integrator. I'm just not a believer in that. I think in the beginning, you
have to be it all.
Go pick everybody you want to pick in this industry. Ken, Leland, Dave Geiger, Hiller. Go pick anybody you want and show me which one of those didn't get in their companies and bust their ass from day one, right? I'm not talking about becoming a visionary later, 20 years in or 15 years in. I'm talking about to build their company. So I think people look at that, they start thinking, oh, get in and grind, right?
Yeah.
Get in and bust your ass. If you think you can hire somebody who's going to do it for you, guarantee you if that person was that good, they'd be doing it for themselves.
Yep.
Right. So
Go find all those guys and go look at all those guys and show me which one of them that hired somebody, kicked up their feet and said, hey, go grow me this business to 100 million. It happened. I'll be waiting for that answer.
Sammy, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We've gone way over our time here, but we could be here for a couple more hours asking you a bunch more questions. We really appreciate you and hanging out with you. Josh, you have anything else you want to add before you?
No, I just appreciate you coming on here and sharing your wealth. And you can tell that you're passionate about what you've built, because just it comes out in the way that you present yourself and the way you talk about Apex and your team. It's just exciting you guys are privately held and growing. There's ways to do it without investment money and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully there's that Sammy sitting behind a speaker somewhere that's listening and learning and gonna rock it off too. So
absolutely, 100%. We appreciate everybody that's listening and hanging out with us. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And until we talk again next time, I hope you have a wonderful and safe week. We'll see you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.